Hello and welcome back to the Ivory Wall, the Vampire the Masquerade live play that we play over Google Plus with, it seems, alternating decent transmission. Sometimes the connection seems to be very poor, but thankfully from watching some of the session, the sound always seems to get through. Apologies for the footage. I can't really help that, unfortunately. But if you can hear it, that's all you really require. Now, this last session concluded part of the way, probably half of the way, through the party of one Dieter, Dieter Jürgens, the sommelier of Clan Toreador in Berlin, a kindred notable for his saturation of vessels in the most expensive, most vintage, most fine wines. I believe one of the other vampires, or one of the protagonists, had actually compared his treatment of vessels to the same way as the Japanese treat Kobe beef. Essentially, he's massaging mortals, making them as tasty as they possibly can be, ripening them, and then dosing them, pretty much bathing them in the best kinds of wine, so that when a vampire drinks from them, it is an experience unlike any other. And Karl Schweitz, around the time that the last session concluded, I believe was in a sort of rapturous state after drinking from one of these vessels, because it was, again, superb on his palate. And the protagonists were essentially working the room, going around, meeting and greeting their fellow clanmates. Now, of note, and I will once again, for the purposes of the players, mention the vampires that are present in the room. So we have Rosa Rothschild, the Primogen and Harpy of Clan Toreador in East Berlin, a known masochist and somewhat controversial Toreador, given that she didn't follow the main body of the clan when the wall was brought up. Marcia Blumenfeld, the Primogen for Clan Toreador in West Berlin, a quiet, poetic Toreador, doesn't tend to like to be the centre of attention, which is odd for a member of her clan. And there is also, of course, Dieter Jürgens, the host, and Gunter Lechtenbrink, who has provided the entertainment for tonight's party. The entertainment being a rather grotesque tableau of Holocaust memoria. There are skulls knotted together with hair, they have been drizzled with fresh blood, and there's barbed wire and more skulls all around. There is nothing subtle about this presentation, and some of the summations from one of the players privately outside of this game have been correct about this. This is all it would appear, for shock value. And something worth noting is that not one Toreador in the room appears to have been caught up in any kind of rapturous reverie in observance of this art. So they have not taken to it, their weakness has not come to the fore, and quite often that is the judge of whether a piece of art constructed by the Toreador is successful. Can it affect your fellow clanmates? In this case, it would certainly appear not, or at least not yet. Ursula Heiberg, the little girl with the mutilated face and the immaculate porcelain mask, has been in attendance, sampling some of the blood that was drizzled upon the sculpture. And Paula Trautschold, the child of Dieter Jürgens, is also in attendance, a political Toreador, self-styled politician, and Hans Müller, successful pornographer, movie director, and also brother, of a sense, to Anna van Hagen. They both share the sire, Heinrich George. The only other kindred from outside of Clan Toreador who was not mentioned, or at least had not arrived at the point that the other kindred had, was the Harpy of Clan Malkavian. This Harpy, known as Schüler, the bald, androgynous, quite beautiful, but quite enigmatic Malkavian, is no doubt in attendance because the other Harpy of West Berlin, being Helga, is not there. And so Schüler has just arrived, with a ghoulish entourage that are swiftly sent outside. The vessels are still being passed around, languidly lounging on the scant furniture that exists within this room, some of them being drank from there and then, others being led outside of the room and into the opulent dining hall, which has been laid out, it would appear, for a meal, in order to be cut and leaked into a glass so that they can actually be sampled like decanted wine. And so some of the guests have actually left the ballroom where the sculpture is now, namely being Ursula. She has exited. Paula has headed out as well, as has Masha. So the room now has Dieter Jürgens addressing his child, it seems, in confidence. Dieter and Paula are off in a corner talking, but not animatedly, they just seem to be talking privately. Gunter Lechtenbrink stands by his sculpture as if waiting for questions about the effort that it took to create it. Rosa Rothschild is still stood with Karl and Anna, and Hans is just trying to take in the sculpture and find something of worth from it. He's got his chin in his hand and he's just rubbing his face, trying to pick something up from it, occasionally looking over to Gunter for some kind of clue. And when Gunter just smiles at him, Hans laughs, takes a vessel by the arm, and heads out to the dining room. Over to the protagonists. A fine music is starting to fill the room, drowning out the screams that you could hear if you put your ear to the sculpture. A soft and sad violin concerto.
Well, at this point, I would basically want to get to talk to Gunter. I've been meaning to talk to him a little bit because the church we went into got me thinking about certain things, certain possibilities of any sort, even small tie-ins to the Anarchs, and I just feel like addressing these with Gunter might be worthwhile. So if he's not engaged in any intense conversation with anybody that I would be interrupting, I would go and I would I would appear to study his art piece, to look at it very thoughtfully and very like kind of like my brother was there before me, but I try to maintain a very serious composure, like yes, there might be more layers to this than it seems, and you know,
Gunter takes long side steps towards you, resembling not so much as a crab, kind of scuttling his way over towards you, smiling, nodding, clearly appreciating your appreciation.
Well, if it isn't the artist himself.
Ah, you're too kind, Frau Van Hagen. Far too kind indeed. What
Well,
is it about the sculpture that you particularly appreciate? Have you seen your young friend, Herr Schweitz? He was a mite dismissive before, but I can see he is caught in the rapture. Clearly something about the sculpture got to him, completely, of course, ignoring the fact that he just drank from a vessel. But he's smiling, nodding.
Yes, it's something that once you start to feast your eyes in it more, and you start to appreciate the levels of depth that you've gone into with this, and there clearly is a lot more than the surface lets on. It intrigues me to actually think that what sort of personal input you've actually expressed in this piece. There's certainly, of course, one can see world history in it, and the history of mankind, and about all the horrors of real life and existence, and all this sort of existential angst that you can interpret from this. But I wonder if every artist always pours a great portion of themselves, of what they're feeling and what they've experienced personally. You don't just open a book, a history book, and see, oh, there's these events in history. I might just portray that. It's always very personal. So, could you elaborate on any? Do the barbed wires or the hairs specifically? Is there a story behind this?
Well, to me, Frau Van Hagen, the feeling I am trying to evoke is nostalgia, memory, for a time when this city, we Toreador, were great. So when I was at my peak, I would be bold enough to say, this array, this death, and that is what it is. This is a symbol of finality, of termination. It stirs something inside me that I have not felt since being made kindred. Quite honestly, I have never feared death since becoming undead. And yet, when I was a mortal, I was presented with it day after day after day. It horrified me. It aroused me. There was a part of it that just went to my core, and I have never been able to shake off. I have never been able to sleep during the day without seeing the faces of those who died and hearing their voices pleading, begging in that pathetic way. But it's nostalgia. You mentioned subtlety and tone and what I am attempting to convey. What I am trying to convey is acid, burning. Nostalgia is in the Greek the pain from an old wound. That is what nostalgia means. And I don't want some niggling pain, some little pinprick, some itch that you cannot scratch. I want that nostalgia to be sore and burning and boring away into your core. I want it to hit you in the face and make you realize something about yourself, whether it's fear that even this existence may not last forever, whether it's a brilliant memorial that you happen to enjoy because it takes you back to when life was fragile and your movements felt like they meant something. I could go on, but it is bad for the artist to wax lyrical about his art when there are so many appreciative guests taking it in and making their own summations.
I wonder, is this more of a love letter to death from you in a term of speech, or is it more of a because there is so many grotesque elements, so many with the serrated barbed wire, with the blood, with the skulls, it's so visceral and grotesque. Is it more of a middle finger to the perceived death that you no longer feel is actually vibrant in your life or your unlife, since not being afraid of it, or is it more of a love letter to the death you once knew, type of a thing?
Good question. I do not think it is a middle finger, although that is an interesting idea. It is, I suppose, an insult to those who died, those who didn't make it. It is, ha! I am here, you are not. Look who succeeded. Look who won. Really, in the end, who won in this encounter? But yes, yes, it is also a reminder of fragility, my previous fragility, when I compare it to what I have now, the strength that I possess now, the resource.
There are certainly some among us, not amongst us as in under this roof tonight, but there are certainly uh, kindred out there who very much lament their position, who very much see vampirism as a curse and a negative thing, and therefore one could find interpretations of how uh, death is something that we can no longer attain the same way we once could in our days of mortality. Are us turning to ash from the rays of the sun is very different uh, from a mortal bleeding out in a ditch covered in barbed wire and all these different possibilities here.
But is
Uh,
that so different? And a mortal, if a mortal goes out to the desert and stands out in the full rays of the sun from dawn till dusk, are they not likely to die? It's just ours catches up with us sooner. The, as I say, fragility of life as a vampire. It is not some curse. I should know, though, the kind that I knew, with whom I was acquainted when I was living, most of them died before or shortly after I was turned. Russians killed them for the most part. It was an horrendous time to be serving this country. It was something to feel proud of, a death to feel proud of, but it was still much death. Once that was done, how was I to regret what I had become? I was stronger, I could outlast things, I could outlive these Russians, I would survive their bullets, their bayonets. I could, even if I was fortuitous, survive their fires, their bombs. We can survive many things. We are truly a greater being than the fragile mortal. But at least that is my belief.
hmm.
I believe that well, the communists, the Russians, they would, and Bridenstine at that, would see us feeling weak, would see us groveling, would see us acting as if we are the kind presence of a godlike being, demigod, a king. That is not what we are, so why should we act that way?
But being preoccupied with these thoughts of life and death and creating this peace out of those ponderings and uh, um, are you reaching out for a spiritual side in these matters?
No, no. The spiritual is not for me, Anna. Not really. I see its uses. It can manipulate a person, but I believe that one should have the freedom to choose the path one takes. And it is too easy for a preacher in a pulpit, an imam or a rabbi, to tell those who are stood or sat before him, what you are doing is wrong, you need to make yourself better, you need to follow me. That kind of tyranny, it's a little too close to communism, that all of you are as meek as one another. I'm the only one that knows how to do it right. You will follow to the letter exactly what I am saying. I think you need a little bit of freedom, a little bit of liberty. I think this art, as an example, is the perfect show of liberty, of freedom. In what other city in the world would I be permitted to put something like this on display to my fellow Toreador? It speaks for West Berlin's strength and the rise of the Anarch movement.
Yes, I can definitely see what you're going with the manipulation part there, and especially if you would start to think preachers starting to preach about politics, they could have a very strong control over their congregation. What do you think?
Ah, well, that is a form of satire. It may not seem apparent, but that is more acceptable. If a preacher is telling you to believe in God because there is no other option, all you're listening to is a man that's read a textbook and is reciting it verbatim. He may be able to do it convincingly, but that is not art. Now, when that same preacher starts preaching about politics that he may not believe in, or, more importantly, that he does believe but contradicts his spiritual beliefs, there is a nice contradiction there. There is something appealing to that, I think. I think there's something we could learn from the hypocrite, from the woman or man who is capable of holding a position but fighting against themselves for the greater good. And, well, 45 years ago, that's what I was doing.
Yes, well, is it that far from saying from the more medieval days of God is on our side when it comes to war and politics and these sorts of things, to have preachers who have a unquestionable authority to their congregations as that often comes with their position, at least in the eyes of their congregation, to start talking about politics and therefore have their congregation just feed it up as gospel, as if it was gospel to that.
A priest would be a very good delivery method for a political message. That I grant you, because they already have their hooks in to the congregation. The congregation already believes everything they say. So if they speak about politics as well with conviction or philosophy or whatever else, then what you have there is the perfect vector for, well, you could do something quite subversive, I dare say. I'm surprised. Is this a thought process of your own, Anna, or is this something you have learned from elsewhere? Because if it's your own, I know of a club that would like to have you speak. It's quite an interesting thought that you have.
No, it's more of a frightening thought. It's yes, effective, surely, but is that not an avenue that the Anarchs would be considering? Is that not something that has come to your minds? I would think, being I myself tend to focus on family first, but the Anarch movement seems to be much more politically charged and on the political forefront. So I would imagine that this has to have come up in your ranks. I'm sure.
Yeah, it has come up in the Anarch movement once or twice. The fact with me, Anna, is I do believe that a kindred is free to make their own choice, and they should not be listening to some dictator in a pulpit, or rather they should be given the choice to do so. My core philosophy is that while I can explain what I think is right and wrong, or what I know is right and wrong, it is up to you to believe me. Now, when I launch my war, hypothetically speaking, and if you have joined my side, you will reap the benefits, but I'm never going to force you to join my side. If you don't join my side, you may well find yourself dead or enslaved or in some way lesser to me. But you would have no one to blame but yourself and your own deductive skills. Now, Reinhard, our Baron, the Malkavian Primogen, who would style himself as the leader of the Anarchs in Berlin, I would say given that he is already speaking on behalf of a clan, he is more likely to speak on behalf of the Anarchs and force new converts in that way, you could argue. But that is not me disparaging him. He has his own way, I have mine. I am sure that when it comes to being put up against the wall, Reinhard and myself will be on opposite sides. Or one of us will hold the rifle, and the other one will be wearing a blindfold. But that does not mean that I wish for him to be dead. It just means that, politically speaking, while we both may be anarchs, he holds a very, shall we say, antiquated view of how to run a political agenda. Everyone in line, everyone marching, toe-to-toe, toe-to-heel, and that is the way a war is won. I believe freedom of thought is a far better gambit. You're more likely to get more inspired thinking than leaving it up to one Malkavian.
And it is no wonder that that someone who's an artist would have that sort of an approach, and it's certainly an approach that I can appreciate. It is just troubling that, of course, we are among fellow clan members here, so it is just troubling that that the Malkavians would be in that sort of a position, because when it comes to preaching to the masses, when it comes to charging people up, when it comes to manipulating people and changing their minds to things they don't themselves fully comprehend, the clan Malkavian is something that has had a very long-lasting tradition in that practice. So someone like Reinhard, with a concept like political rhetoric to a congregation, sounds something that, I don't know, I find disturbing.
Well, I don't blame you for that. And again, I would not choose for Reinhard to be my baron, or more likely my prince. But it is not something that you really need to be concerned about. The likelihood of his ever actually claiming real power is minimal at best. His clan is fractured across both sides of the wall, and when the wall comes down, as it will, Malkavians will have no purchase. The Toreador, being predominantly Western, well, should the West win, should we win, and I am sure that we will, our clan will be in a strong position. Reinhard is just a politician spouting rhetoric. Just because he wants to lead the revolution that failed for him in 1945 and turn this city into an anarch barony on a capital city scale. Words mean nothing when you don't have the power to back it up, and the anarchs in this city are far too fractious. None of us really point in the same direction. It's like attending a Greenpeace rally. You know, none of those people there are actually doing the same thing. Some of them are there for the drugs, some of them are there because they like to sail on a great big boat. Others don't like the military, some love the environment. The point is that as a political movement, the anarchs in this city are not unified, and they are certainly not unified behind Reinhard, at least at least by my reckoning.
But you wouldn't think Reinhardt would be trying to proselytize and manipulate congregations throughout the city.
That I did not rule out. Certainly, I wish him all the luck in the world if that's what he's doing.
Mm. Now I don't know. I've been hearing and I've been seeing and I've been smelling suspicious things to that end these past few nights, and with all of these incidents propping up with this party boy character that I've been
He's
trying
a
to smoke out.
party boy, a real disruptive influence.
Yes, but he's very different. All the leads that I've been tracking when it comes to him, none of them fit this sort of. He's not somebody. He doesn't seem like somebody who would be into proselytizing the masses and spewing rhetoric and politically charged mumbo jumbo on a pedestal. He's
No, from what I hear,
much more like an actual rebel than
a pure anarchist. He just
yes.
wishes to see the society crumble and for all of us to look after ourselves. I can appreciate that, but there's too many simple-minded kindred who do not know how to look after themselves, would take the opportunity of freedom to launch some kind of attack on another kindred. You know, it would all get far too bloody and messy. Maybe in another city, but not Berlin. Things are already too fractured here. If he pushed the princes over the edge, or indeed any other kindred, it would be bedlam, and no one really wants that. I appreciate his methods, not dissimilar to mine. He likes to make an impact. He likes to shock, but I will be interested to see what becomes of him and his methods. I cannot imagine they are going to last for long.
Hmm. Well,
Someone.
we'll have to wait and see.
He's a mad dog. And there was a time when mad dogs were held in a carnival and you could pay a little money to see them chew their own neck and eat their own tail because that was amusing. They'd panic all the other animals in the circus or carnival as well. And that was fun too, watching the monkeys jump up and down in their cages. But eventually that dog would find a way of tearing out its own throat, or it would have to be shot by its owner.
Well, Bridenstine surely has the mindset of putting the mad dog down, and anybody who may have even slightly caught the rabies it's carrying. It's a very hostile environment in the East at this point.
I find
when the wall does start to crumble down, it'll be dramatic at the very least to see what will occur.
Yes, I find it concept most intriguing that Party Boy is not writing his own script, but we shall no doubt see what comes out in the wash, given that you are the prince's men and woman on this particular task. I actually have more entertainment to prepare, so you'll have to excuse me, Anna.
I wish you a good evening.
And you, my dear. He gives you a kiss on the back of the hand and walks through to the dining room.
As he does that, I give him a wide smile and a little bend of the knees just for amusement. But after that, I turn off, and I've pretty much achieved everything I wanted to achieve in this party. So at this point, I'll be looking into a good time to leave the party to go and see the sheriff. But to do that, I think I'll still have to talk to Marsha to tell her to or to ask her to get me in contact with the sheriff.
What is Carl has broken from his entrancement during this time. Yes, he's free. He's free from the chain gang. Part of the way through the conversation that Anna is having with Gunter, you free yourself, and the vessel who you've been feeding from has already left your arm by this point.
Ah, the bastard. Carol will probably make his way towards the dining room. He has a mind to attempt to see if the blood, when tried from a glass, tastes the same as it does direct from the tap, so to speak.
You make your way into the dining room where many of the guests are now congregating. As you do so, you see from the other side of the room, Shula, the Malkavian harpy, gives you a deep nod, which is a greeting no one else has really bothered to afford you, before going back to drinking from a glass. There are, along the dining table, a rich teak structure that stretches near the entire length of the room and surrounded by ornate and quite clearly antique chairs. Some of the kindred here are sitting, others are still standing around milling about. This room is devoid of decoration except for the placemats and the glasses that are put at every seating place at the table. There is well, if he's a kindred, you've never seen him before, but he's dressed like a waiter in an up-class restaurant, who is stood with a silver tray with blades lined up along them, scalpels essentially, and boning knives and the like. The vessels are milling around, most of them staggering. If there's anything to take away the classiness of this particular party, it's the fact that the things you're feeding from are clearly drunk beyond belief. And so occasionally they knock into a table, and there's a ripple of laughter from the vampires here present.
Carol will probably go and collect one of the razors from the waiter, give him a curt nod. When he receives the deep nod from Shula, he probably smiles awkwardly, tries to look anywhere but at her, at him, whatever, and sort of kind of nods also, but not in a very sort of convincing way. He doesn't really know this person, or he's pretty much afraid of anyone he doesn't know. So he'll take the razor from the tray. He'll make his way to someone who appears to be free, and
you want to aim for the vessel that you've been feeding from before now?
No, he wants to try something different. Surely they all can't be the same. If they were, that'd be quite sad, in fact. So he'll go and attempt to.
There's an older woman. You'd actually put her in her mid-60s. She's of a broad frame, broad-shouldered, wide-hipped. Certainly not what you would necessarily see in a magazine as a model or something like that. But she seems to be standing up straighter and less under the effects of the alcohol than many of the other vessels. She is dressed as the other vessels, though, so you can see that she definitely is one.
Does she look like Helga?
She's not quite as rotund as Helga. She's more big-boned. Quite literally, she's just got a very large frame to her.
In 2000 years, She's dug up.
She'll probably make a good shot putter or.
Brumhilda, it is yourself. Carol will make his way over there. As he does, he probably does spare a thought for the last time he fed from his sire in that exquisite flavour. I think she's probably dominated out her tree. So probably won't respond.
She smiles at you as you approach, and start a couple of vampires. Marsha moves out of your way as you make a beeline towards the vessel. She smiles, but she doesn't say anything. She just kind of offers her neck.
What I take it I've inspected as I walked around, sort of what the etiquette is. They're sort of like putting the cup up to the wound, or are they holding the person over it?
They were actually holding the cup up to the wound. Most of them were actually taking the knife, making a small incision on the palm or wrist, not lengthways, of course, and squeezing blood out. You've actually seen Ursula doing this and actually guiding the adult male that she's feeding from into essentially pumping his arm and clenching his fist repeatedly, as if he was having his blood pressure taken or about to donate, maybe.
All right, Carol will replicate this immortal technique. As he does so, he'll probably talk to the woman to some extent, see if she talks back to him.
She talks in clipped German. She's not. You would gather she's possibly not a native. You'd gather she's not naked.
She's not a naked German.
You'd gather she's not a native speaker, but more than that, you don't think she's necessarily been instructed to hold full-blown conversations with the guests.
Right. Well, in that case,
after all, the food and. It's impolite to have a conversation with the main course.
That's what you've got to get to know your steak. Come on.
Yeah, unless you're at the restaurant at the end of the universe.
Clearly, you've never spoken to the steak before. So yeah, he'll probably talk to himself as he goes. Then, kind of cutting, putting the glass there, sort of you pumping the arm. Oh, you remind me very much of a very beautiful woman. You look like someone who enjoys how shall I say this? Who enjoys the finer things in life?
You are too kind, sir. You are too kind.
Oh no. Carol kind of shakes his head. I'm not kind. No, I don't think I'm kind. He kind of blanches, thinking about being called kind while he's doing what he's doing. To the person that just called him kind. And as the glass sort of slowly trickles to a decent level.
You get about an egg cup full, which is still, a decent amount to actually squeeze from a small wound.
Yeah, he's going to just sort of taste this anyway, so it's not like he's feeding, so to speak. He says, "Let's see if I can get your tastes from this today." He takes a sort of a smell of it.
As you do that, another waiter who you haven't seen before actually heads across the room. He has he basically has rolls of bandages on his tray, and he applies gauze and bandage over the wound, and pats her on the shoulder as if to say, "Move on."
As she slowly becomes a very rotund mummy, Carol rolls the liquid around in the glass, smells it, lets it breathe, etc. Does all the things you would normally do. Takes a good nose of it. Takes a delicate sip, which he washes around his mouth, tastes it, gets what he gets from the taste of it. Is it similar at all to the other one that you tried?
No, it does actually taste quite different. Of course, it tastes of blood, but there's less of an earthy feel to it. You certainly enjoyed drinking straight from the meat before. This one feels cleaner. It feels crisper. It's it's more like something as you start thinking of meals that this could accompany in your mind. It almost feels like something that you could have with a fine salad with some shredded duck or beef upon it. It feels like spring. It feels like blood that you would drink when you're trying to clear your head. Despite the alcoholic content of which it is high, it feels like almost like an aperitif, almost creme de menthe or other liqueur that you drink to just go bang in your mouth, pow.
A palate cleanser.
Mm.
But also it reminds him then of earthiness of. And this brings him back to the conversation I had with Gunter earlier. He takes the sort of glassful he has left, and he walks back through to the sculpture, and he's kind of muttering to himself as he goes, rosemary, shredded beef. Yes, growing, spring, the earth, vegetables, leaves, green, yes, and he tries to keep all these thoughts in his mind, and he sort of takes in the garish sculpture again, walking to just any particular part of it. He pours the blood onto one of the skulls, and then sort of licks it off to see if the impact of this vitae, which when Gunther described it as you're supposed to get the earth, you're supposed to get all these things which he sort of got from this vitae. He sees if he's viewing this sculpture in a new light now as he sort of looks up at it with that taste on his tongue, but probably finds that it is yet again just a big pile of skulls with noise coming out of it.
Yeah, you're left feeling wanting. Unfortunately, it just feels like you're dragging your tongue across a somewhat rough surface. The blood still tastes clean, but it's almost like you've had to drink tea from a saucer after having spilt it. It loses something in the breaking it against the skulls, as it were.
Would the drinking it from a glass, how did that compare to taking it straight from the source?
So from the source, it was at its best. At least to your mind, it was almost like drinking wine from the barrel.
Like fresh meat, frozen meat, sort of.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
despite the brief amount of time it had been in the glass, you could tell the difference. Now, you're not sure whether anyone else here can, but you could definitely pick up on the difference.
I intend to find out, and seeing as Schuller made the gesture towards him, he'll make his way over to him, her, whatever, placing gently his glass back down on the table. And he slides over, politely waiting on the periphery, waiting for Schuller to disengage from whatever activity. I'm guessing it's a she. I probably don't know.
No, you've not really been formally introduced to Shula before. Certainly, Shula is dressed in a more feminine way than masculine, if that's any indication.
I'm going to go 1 to 5. Carol thinks it's a girl. On this detail. Alright, okay, so he thinks it's a guy, probably based on the clothes. Yeah. So he shimmies on over. As he's waiting for him to disengage, and he sort of introduces himself. Hello, my name's Karl Schweitz. It's nice to meet you. And sort of offers his hand, being sort of still unsure of how to really introduce himself in these circles.
Schuler smiles. There's a light laugh. Hello to you too, Karl Schweitz. And Shula puts her hand in yours and shakes it quite firmly.
I was
Are you enjoying the party? I've only just arrived.
Oh, yes. It's certainly the ambiance is and he sort of gestures towards the sculpture behind him. But the tastes are quite sensational, actually. And I was just wondering, I don't know if it's just me, I don't know, but maybe you could help me out. I found drinking from a glass, even from that splendid lady, and he gestures to the rotund woman, who's clearly seen a lot of healthy dinners in her time. I found drinking from the glass to be somewhat lacking, like eating a frozen fish compared to eating something which is just caught, like eating a supermarket chicken compared to a freshly shot pheasant. And he waves his hands about and sort of looks like he's struggling to find the words to properly articulate.
I was there for the evening where Heinrich George watched you try that pastry. Quite an exquisite show, and I can see why you are well known for your palate. Now, I was of a time before chickens in supermarkets, Schweiz, but I do recall, at least I recall the memory of the difference in flavour between a pheasant and a chicken, and I can appreciate what you are saying. I have likewise tried one from the vein and one from the bottom of the glass. I cannot claim to identify the flavours like you so eloquently attempt, but I can notice the difference, yes.
Well, okay. I thought maybe it was just me, but so how are you finding it here tonight?
Well, I was expecting to come here and find the party nearly called off. In fact, you and Marsha are the first I've really had a good chance with whom to speak. Have you not heard about the border defences between Hungary and Austria?
No, I've not heard.
Well, they've been disabled. You know, mortal governments and so on. East Germans in Hungary who are holidaying in East Germany, have just poured across into Austria. It's the beginning of the end, Herr Schweiz. This is the signal that I'm sure many in Germany have been waiting for.
Oh, Carol suddenly thinking about his sort of native land, which he never really knew, being invaded. He almost feels that his father's disappointment rather than his own. He kind of like glances around uncomfortably and says, "The signal for what? For is this some sort of Soviet conspiracy?"
Oh, no, I don't suspect so. As to my understanding, limited as it is, the diplomatic arena is getting more, what would the word be, acceptable. And with the militarization of the border between Austria and Hungary now becoming demilitarized, well, there's an awful lot of those who were trapped in the east making their way to the west now via Austria, at least until Hungary erects the border again, which they, in the newspapers, are said to be doing. But it's the first salvo, you know, the end of this war that is not a war that seems to be going on between the east and the west, and importantly for us, no doubt Prince Ehrman and Prince Bridenstine have taken notice and can only wait until the same thing happens in this fine city.
What do you think the prince's reaction would be? Like, I live very close to the wall, and
maybe perhaps you should look for a new house. Although I understand the migration of these East Germans was peaceful, at least according to the news reports. I cannot claim the same will be the case in Berlin, at least not for the kindred population. Prince Ehrman is a very fine figure of a prince. he will regret not having more time to prepare, but will welcome the inevitable collapse of the wall. That will have always been the way with him. He will always begrudge that he had less time than he wanted to shore up his position, but he will be glad that it is finally over.
Hmm. So, sorry, I don't want to impinge upon your evening with talk of grim politics, but
Well, that is my role in this city. I am one of the harpies, appointed by the Camarilla and the Prince, indeed. It is my role to spread talk of political change, even among the mortals, when it is relevant to us. I had intended on making a speech at the end of the table, but everyone's taking so long to get in here, and I understand Herr Lechtenbrink has some further grotesque entertainment to put on display. So we'll wait until that all concludes, but I don't mind giving you the inside line, Herr Schweitz.
Well, how would you say it? My sire, as you know, is one of these harpies, and she.
A grand lady, a fine figure of a harpy.
Oh yes. I was wondering, she's never spoken too much of her work. How would you say, speaking personally, of course, you would go about spreading the word? What methods, what mediums do you use, more than simply turning up at parties and saying the right things? Obviously, there must be more to it than that. There's a more subtle element. There must be channels through which you push the message.
You know, some of us have great networks among the kind. They don't even know what it is they're communicating, but they are especially skilled at doing so. I've often believed that our ghouls, those of us who have them, have an even better network of communication than the kindred. So my preferred method of issuing a communication, if I needed it to permeate the entire city, would be to pass messages on to a select couple of very much trusted individual members of the kind, who would then disseminate it in other formats. A preferred method, for instance, is to reach one of my friends in the journalism field. He will put an ad in a newspaper that certain prominent kindred in the city know to look for, with certain, well, messages broadcast within them. Nothing so obvious as broadcasting something on the television or over the radio, although Helga has done that with limited success. Many of us still do not listen to the radio. I prefer the newspaper method if I need word to travel. In Der Spiegel, they have a ad column, A wishes to meet B for romantic encounters and so on.
So do you think then that the kind, important as they are in communication, with an impact coming, if the wall is to come down, the first people that will rush across the barricade, as it was, will be the kind themselves, and what will they be delivering into from west to east and otherwise? Are they? Is there a chance that they could be weaponized somewhat?
Almost definitely. If we get a date when the wall is due to come down, do not be surprised when Bridenstine arms certain kind and tells them exactly where to go to find Prince Airman's haven. If he could eliminate Airman in one fell swoop without needing to engage the entire city in a war, I'm fully prepared for that being a possibility. But assassinations are such a dangerous subject. If one prince shows that he is happy to carry out or order the assassination of another, when do you close that door? It is why the kind leaderships do not do it. You know, there are all kinds of horrendous rulers out there across the world. I understand the Ayatollah in Iran is much disliked, and yet he walks in the open. You could take him down at any time. If you could find someone fanatical enough, you could have someone walk up to him, put a bullet in his brain, end a reign of terror, at least so the newspapers tell me. But the reason the Americans do not do that, the reason the British and the French and the Iraqis do not do that, is because as soon as you open that door, you have started a fire that cannot be put out. It takes a lot of desperation to commit that kind of crime, but I believe, and I do not mind you voicing this, my sources tell me that that is exactly what Bridenstine will do, and that Bridenstine is so confident in his own ability to withstand an assassination that he does not mind that door being opened, that he will allow it to be opened, and he will take whatever bullets, bombs, and blades are thrown in his direction, because he will survive it all. He's a very old vampire.
I had heard, and I know that it may be nonsense, but I had heard during our Party Boy investigation that Party Boy himself encountered Bridenstine in the trunk or back seat of some fancy sports car.
Oh, really? This is new news. Who told you this?
Is Rose still there?
Yeah, Rosa is. Rosa's actually still in the sculpture room, but yeah, she is there.
He said, Rosa Rothschild.
The East Berlin Toreador.
Yes.
Interesting for the Toreador of East Berlin to paint Bridenstine in such a pathetic manner. Sleeping in the trunk of a car, very bad indeed. Well, that's interesting. And what was the outcome of this little sortie?
Seemingly, the Party Boy is now banned, so to speak, from that end of the city. And,
now, I had known that was the case, but I did not know the reason why. It surprises me, though, that Bridenstine did not just catch up to him and break his neck, pull his head from his torso. It certainly got the power to do so.
Yes, but it would seem that Party Boy at least has the prowess to outrun and avoid even kindred as prodigious as Prince Bridenstine.
One thing you will learn, Schweiz, is not that the gift is in the running, it's in the hiding and the blending in. We like to think of East Berlin as this city with a curfew, that at night no one walks the streets of its cobbled roads, that the only people out there are the Stasi and the Nosferatu. But there are just as many people there as there are here, if not more. Many of them need work in the evening. If Party Boy knows the city well, all he had to do was get to a place where he could slip in with the run-of-the-mill. Bridenstine, even when afflicted with a rage, is not going to tear into a shopping mall, into a church, into a restaurant, and rip everyone to pieces just to find the glimpse of one vampire who he may not even recognize.
So do you think then that Party Boy is a good chance, as we have tracked him to both a university and church, it could be that he is, so to speak, hiding in plain sight?
Oh, I think that's almost definitely what Party Boy is doing. I would put money on it. Money that is likely to devalue incredibly once the war comes down, so start buying stock now.
Yes, I'm not sure of the veracity of the story, obviously, but given that he has already seemingly been able to to overcome the will of the bouncers at Italo on the first Elysium, the evening of my first presentation.
Oh, and those Turks know some powers. I've seen them do things that a neonate would be afraid of. Party Boy has a certain bravery that is to be admired, but it's a stupid form of bravery.
But
That
surely,
receives the heel of the boot eventually. He's just got to overreach.
but surely that bravery seemingly is accompanied by at least some of the potence of someone certainly more effective in the blood than myself. But I had heard he was a wastrel, a fledgling.
Well, I suppose when no one knows the identity of a vampire, one can only assume at the age of him or her.
But that's what strikes me. Is it just an identity for someone else?
It seems an odd thing to do for an elder. Just speaking my mind at this point, I have never encountered an elder so animated as to spray graffiti on ghouls and generally play pranks. It seems unbefitting.
But they wouldn't have to actually do that. They just enable it somehow.
Mm-hmm. There
And
are plans with gifts that allow them to bestow gifts on others, although I won't say any more in that respect. Certainly I don't wish to be blamed for spreading rumours that are false.
Well, the other thing that strikes me is he seems to have a very big web of contacts here, and you couldn't build that kind of thing up in a matter of months.
Well, in that case, you should perhaps be looking for his sponsor.
That could prove difficult, because, as you say, they will not be so animated as to reveal themselves.
No, no. If there is someone looking to destabilize this city, then Party Boy is a superlative agent.
But then, if we are looking at the wall coming down and political barriers coming down, the euphoria of the kind will come towards freedom and collectivism and overcoming tyranny and such things. There is only one, and Carol will be saying this quite quietly, there's only one group of people, as I understand, with anything to gain from that sort of buzz. And who knows what. Could it be that someone hopes that both princes will destroy each other and they can replace it with something, a third force, something different?
Shula leans in as well, playing up the conspiratorial pantomime. That's one guess, that they will attempt to take down both princes and claim praxis for themselves. But there is another. Never rule out the unified power of one clan that does not need a political agenda, just needs the desire for survival and to be on top. It's very easy to get distracted by the cobwebs of politics when family can be all that is holding a force together.
Well, don't do that to me. So Carol will sort of like, okay, well, but family is so subjective a term to people. Is it bound by blood? Is it bound by friendship or history? For all we know, there could be some sort of third force operating here, and they wouldn't have to take down both princes. They just hope that they damage each other to the point where they become king of the ruins, so to speak.
Oh, indeed. That is all that is needed. Discredit these two grandstanding males and prove yourself more worthy.
And if that's the case, then we're working in a way for them.
I suppose. But I'm not the prince. I'm not going to tell you to stop doing your job.
No,
It would appear Gunter is entering the dining room. Now, Anna. Gunter is walking into the dining room, tapping a knife against the glass to signify that it is time for a toast, or for one last ceremony to begin.
Okay.
Are you following into the dining room, or are you making your exit?
I am following, even though I have other plans. This is something I want to see and hear.
Everyone enters the dining room. The waiter, who is holding the tray of tools, closes the door, and you are all essentially sealed in to this one room. Lechtenbrink points at the curtains, says, "Draw them if you will," and the waiter draws all the drapes together. The only light from within now from the chandeliers above. Now, I know that some of you have not been enamored by my arts. I know that some of you have been shocked, others appalled, some of you disgusted, many disappointed. Those are the emotions that I want. But for you to feel truly what I seek, I thought I would up the ante. Now, with permission from the host, Dieter over there, everyone gives a light applause, who has put on this fantastic spread of saturated vessels that are unparalleled, unlike anything that anyone in the condition that we are about to duplicate could ever feel, could have ever tasted. Well, there's a fine contrast there, is there not? Luxury, soaking meat juicy in your mouth, letting forth its ripe vitae. It makes one feel strong, it makes one feel alive, it makes one feel like a god. But what could bring you crashing down? What could make you feel like an ant beneath the sight of that god? Death. Now, I do not propose that I am about to kill all of you. There's a light laughter. I am not going to harm any one of you, my brethren, my clan, my family. But I am going to make it pretty close. Waiter, please escort the vessels from the room. And once you are outside, turn the tap in the cellar. You know the one. The waiter nods. The vessels leave.
Could you list who all are still present?
All of the everyone who had been at the party is now in this room, minus Kine.
I've got a terrible feeling he's about to turn the gas on.
Yeah.
Kill him! It's the only way. No.
Unfortunately, just as you're thinking this, and it isn't completely out there to suppose that that is what Gunter is about to do, some of the other kindred in the room are thinking this as well.
Hey, I'm using entrancement on Gunter. I'm going to use that on him and just going to go. Uh, um, uh, Gunter, please, let's not outdo ourselves. And yes, I'm going to roll for that.
Okay.
What's his willpower?
That's, oh my God, 35555.
Oh, well, that's all right. His willpower is 5, so
That's a
the
lot of
difficulty is
fives.
equal to the target's current willpower, therefore you
Oh!
get 4 successes.
Talk about shifting emotion. Going from absolute disappointment to just pure joy. So 4 successes.
Now, presence is a subtle discipline. He doesn't necessarily, won't make him feel like he's being controlled by you, and indeed it won't necessarily make anyone else feel like you're doing this, except as you speak to him, and his head turns, and he looks at you, and he cocks his head at you, and he can't help but smile at you and go wide-eyed. I am not outdoing myself, Frau Van Hagen. I am completing myself. I am completing this exhibit.
Please, Gunter, why don't we just say some nice final words and send everyone home happy, and instead of taking your concepts of death any further than they've already been. We've already been filled spiritually by your exhibits without having to go all out into extreme lengths, please.
Now, because he is entranced, he isn't going to, and in fact he's entranced technically speaking for a month because of the force of death. Although undoubtedly being a vampire of some power, he'd be able to resist that in a shorter time. He is just nodding along as you're speaking. You can't help but think, well, while you're telling him this, the waiter is still going downstairs and putting the tap on.
Is anyone near me right now? Like, am I standing next to anyone? Because I've got something to say. Nah.
Well, Masha is actually right next to you, as is Shula, and Masha is gripping the back of the chair in front of her to the point where you all hear a crack as the antique chair back snaps in her hand, and she's shaking and looks just about ready to flip out. She's taken about as much from this would-be Nazi anarch as she probably can.
Carol sort of waves plaintively at her and sort of says quietly, just think about what he said. Like, what is going to bring you down and make you, like, it's already the fear itself has look, you know, we're all afraid of dying, we're all standing here thinking about how he's going to kill us. Like, is that the point? Has he created this atmosphere of paranoia and fear, and now we're all going to scrabble to get out of this place or to stop this waiter or whatever? Is that the point? Is that everything?
She spits at you. Yeah, her words. She doesn't just spit in your face. As she holds the broken frame of the chair in her hand.
Waves it threateningly.
And says, this is how my entire mortal family, my herd, died. This is not art. Herr Schweiz. At which point she pretty much takes the back of the chair over her arm and throws it in the direction of Gunter. Now, it isn't staged.
Can I attempt to block it with my own body, trying to protect Gunter from bodily harm?
Yeah, sure.
Well, no, I'm imagining myself like having my hand on his shoulder and my other hand on close to his arm or something like that, like very much like, oh, that's enough, right, you know. So I'm just imagining I'm gonna just turn in front of him.
Yeah, you still have to shout no in slow motion because that's the rules.
But yeah, anyway, I want to.
I'm not going to make you roll for that because you see the lob coming. Well, you hear Masha spit her words at Carl, and that forces you to turn. And you see her throw the chair at him in a clear show of admonishment. And yeah, you can quite easily just stand in his way. He's not going to move at all, given how entranced he is with you, and so the chair collides with your back. It's not sharpened, it's not a javelin, it's not a stake, it's not going to impale you or anything like that. But it does knock against you. Dieter...
Does it break or anything like that?
No, it's heavy wood. But Dieter says, that chair costs 10,000 Deutschmarks on its own!
I'll immediately turn around, with this strong sense of being pissed off. I'll use actually dread gaze as I turn around and address all of my clan friends here. I'll just spit out with this monstrous face and voice on me as I use the discipline of just turning and yelling, "You fools, we're a family!" And with spit coming out of my mouth with this.
Carol probably looks like someone at a tennis match right now, sort of looking between Masha and Anna, who's just been lamped with a chair.
Okay, so you're using dread gaze on the entire room.
Yeah.
I am going to.
It's more of an impulsive thing than a calculated.
Yeah, you're not targeting an individual or anything like that. Can charisma plus intimidation, please?
Yes. What's the difficulty?
Equal to the victim's wit and courage, so it's going to differ from vampire to vampire. Okay. So just tell me the results you get.
10, 5, 6, 3, 1, 3, so that's 1 will eliminate one of the successes. So what I have left is 5, 6, 3, 3. So for some, I guess that's 2 successes. For some,
I'm not actually going to roll for every individual in this room because that would take me a bloody age. So instead, I'm going to aggregate the number of. I'm going to just accumulate all of the dice and then chop it up as per the stats. So just give me a second.
I'm fine with whatever, if somebody's way too elderly or whatever to really be affected by my puny efforts, I'm totally.
I'm quite happy to roll for a failure. I've just done the roll, so I've just got to compare this to the sheet. If Carl, you could say what's happening to you while I'm just working that out.
Wits and courage is 6 for me, so that's 1 success. So Carol, while dodging back and forth between the two ladies, probably as he looks back to his left at one point, then suddenly goes, ah! Jumps back, let's say toppling into the partner of that antique chair, looking very much like a sort of frail old man suddenly frozen in place in this armchair. With only 1 success, he'll probably gather himself reasonably quickly, but he kind of wonders why you're shouting at him since he didn't bloody do anything. But kind of sits there sort of going, ah!
Paula Troutschultz, who you haven't actually been speaking to during this party, and Dieter, in fact, after he utters that, both start scrabbling for the curtains. You pretty much demolish them with their botches, and they pretty much start ripping down drapes and trying to get out of the window. Hans, your brother, is cowed suitably, and he basically he sits down and is locking his eyes with you in a desperate way that you can quite easily read as, for God's sake, get a grip on everyone, make sure everyone's, you know, calming down, sane, and so on. Ursula Heiberg does the same. Shula, Masha, and Rosa are the only ones who are not affected by this discipline.
But really, what I'm more after is just showing my. It's more of an extended emotional outburst that rather than an intent on intimidating them.
Yeah, and what I'm going to say is it actually sort of chains into Rosa Rothschild of East Berlin, following up with speaking, and you know the effects of awe, you know the effects of presence. Just a simple rose-tinted word. Rosa says, "She is right. You all of you calm yourselves. Think about who we are."
Carol very delicately gets out of this chair, thinking that it costs 10,000 marks.
That I can buy half a Volkswagen. Now, if by storyteller caveat you would like to, as Carl, you're happy to have that affect you, I'm going to say that combined with Anna's dread gaze, it jolts everyone back to reality. People are snapped out of the state that Gunter's announcement put them in, and Masha's near frenzy put them in. And it's almost like there's a visible or audible exhalation from this undead crowd as people regain their composure. Gunter is actually crying tears of blood from this. He suddenly says, I must get him to turn off the tap. At which point he eases the door open a fraction and squeezes out and slams it behind him, and you hear his footsteps. Masha is being restrained. She's actually being held by her sister Rosa, and don't you understand what he's doing? Take a breath. I know that you do. None of us breathe. If you breathe in, you can smell it. You can smell the almonds, Rosa. This is not just poor taste. This is insulting. This is inhuman. Yes, I know that we are kindred, but this is abhorrent. He does not get away with this. He does not get away with insulting me or insulting my family. He is not a member of this family. He is adopted at best. We can cast him out just as easily as we brought him into the fold.
Can I smell this?
Yeah. If you take a breath in, you can start to pick up the odor of bitter almonds.
Was the door locked or anything behind?
No.
So we can, we can just
he's
walk
pumping
out.
sarin into the room.
So it's not like we're locked in this situation. It's more of a.
It was symbolic. Yeah, it was symbolic. You could leave at any point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just looking around the how everybody is reacting basically, and how Masha is being calmed down and all that. And I'm
seems vaguely amused by all of this.
Carol takes 2 sniffs and then face palms.
And it looks like Dieter and his child Paula are looking incredibly embarrassed. Except Dieter's doing that thing where the thing a cat does after it runs into a door, trying to walk it off and looking like it meant to do that. He's sort of straightening his tie, and because he realizes there seems to be more shame going around than than is being directed at him at any rate. Paola, however, looks mortified. Your words carried weight, as did Rosa's. Various of the Toreador are now just sitting down at the table. Some of them are just holding their heads, regretting even coming to this. There are a couple who seem, well, again, Shula seems almost appreciative of all of this. Rosa, likewise, the smile hasn't really left her face, even during her speech. And Ursula seems actually enraptured, which may have been the goal all along. She seems transfixed now. But you're not sure whether it's about the words of being a big family that have touched her, or whether it's the odor of the gas that's entering the room.
Gunter hasn't returned yet from.
Not yet, no.
Okay. I'll just walk around in the room a bit, and I'll just say I'll be talking to myself basically. I'll just say this political climate is just so crushingly tense. Every family in this damn city, whether on the east side or the western side, is walking on a razor's edge when it comes to the wall crumbling down, except for us. We're the only family strong enough, big enough, to actually be on top of this situation once it happens, once the wall crumbles. It'll affect us the least. It'll disrupt us the least. So let's not take a leap here. Let's not go out of our way to make sure that we are already disorganized and crumbled up before anything happens. There's so many of our clans, so many of Malkavians and Nosferatus and all the rest of us, to whom the playing field changes dramatically and drastically when it all goes down. Because none of us are fools. None of us are going to actually stand up and deny it is going to happen eventually. So just pull yourselves together, for fuck's sake. It's not just the Camarillas with the Anarch movement, with all of this going on. There's enough internal struggle within the city for us who are actually bonded by blood to be actually tearing at each other. For petty reasons, for personal reasons, for emotional reasons. We need to be smarter than that.
Dieter stands, having adjusted his tie and regained his composure completely. Anna is completely correct. We are a clan, we are a family. This bourgeois display on the part of Lechtenbrink, I can only apologize to all of you as the host of this party. I did not know it would go this far. But let this not be the end of the party. For our family, the party must always go on. We cannot just have it crash every single time that someone does something radical. My vessels are just in the other room. We will move out of here, from where the gas is presumably lethal. Those of you who still wish to feed can feed. Those of you who still wish for entertainment, I have a fantastic sound system, and I have a private cinema in the east wing of the chateau. Now, I do not have anything new that is in the theaters, but Herr Muller here has one of his movies, and if that is the kind of thing that would entertain you and put your mind at ease and take you to a better place than this, then please, I invite any of you to remember exactly what Anna is saying. We are unified. We have a focus, unlike those other clans. We can actually feel passion for the art, and right now we are tearing ourselves apart for no good reason. Thank you, Anna, for trying to bring a semblance of sanity back to this room.
While that sort of monologue was going on, Carol keeps an eye on Schuler and her reaction, his reaction, because knowing that she's not a member of the family and her words earlier about a unified force and blah blah blah, with that ringing in her ears, she might feel that this implicates the Toreador even further. Keeps an eye on her for her reaction.
Shula seems unrepentantly amused by everything that's going on, probably because she's a harpy and this information will get out of this room. The doors crack open again. Gunter steps in. If it's possible for a vampire to sweat, he would be wiping away his brow right now. He looks bedraggled. His hands.
I'll attempt to. Oh. No, I was planning on going to him before he even starts to talk to anybody.
Yeah. By all means, you can cut him off. Well, he's only just saying that as he gets through the door. So.
Yeah, I'll.
That's what
I'm looking for. I was looking for him to arrive because after this whole we're unified speech stuff, I would want to walk to him straight up and with this same sort of kind of motherly way about me that I use with my boys. I would go to him and I would go and embrace him. I would go to put my arms around him. I would go and put one arm on his upper back to rub it, and one to the back of his head, and just pull his head on my shoulder. And I would actually go like shh. Nobody's going to hold a grudge. Nobody's mad at you. We're all family here. We all look after each other.
At which point Masha launches herself across the room.
No, but that's precisely what I'm after. That what I was saying was legitimate. Like I can go to somebody like Gunter immediately after this and not be like that. This showing affection and unity to another clan member should not provoke someone to frenzy the hell out.
Carl is actually going to start looking towards Dieter because he's quite interested, given how Helga responded to his attempt to capture those guys in the First Elysium and the way that went. Even though she wasn't actually hosting it, it was still sort of her event in her eyes. He's interested to see how the host of this event responds to this faux pas.
He seems more inclined to agree with Anna's take on things because he is smiling a gentle and reassured smile to see Anna actually hugging Gunter. It is showing that bygones can be bygones despite the horror of what very nearly just occurred. Dieter doesn't seem embarrassed at this point, but perhaps he's not taking into account the fact that there's a harpy of another clan in the room with them right now. Not to mention the Primogen of East Berlin, of Toreador in East Berlin.
Does Masha look like she's about to launch herself across the room and try to rip this guy's face off?
Rosa still has her hands on Masha's arms, and Masha says, I will not hurt him. But there is something I must say with this entire room full of my family and Shula present. Gunter Lechtenbrink, as primogene of Clan Toreador, it behooves me to tell you that 40 years ago in this city, we made a concerted effort to eliminate every one vampire in this city who was, or still was after the Second World War, a member of the Nazi Party. It was in poor taste. None of us appreciated the art of the Third Reich. This was with the edict of the Prince, and that Prince, Hermann, has not lifted that edict at the same time as not rescinding or supporting. It was just declared, and it is still in force. I am not going to kill you tonight, Gunter Lechtenbrink, but if you practice anything resembling the acts of the National Socialist Party, again, I will bring that law down on you in full force. So weigh up how important your political agenda is, or your art is, compared to you being in this city, and indeed among the kindred of this city, or alive, for that matter. Gunter gives a very crestfallen and ashamed nod of his head, while still holding on to Anna.
While Marsha started speaking, I would of course released him from my embrace. I would have been hugging him all.
Very well, very well.
Put him in a cello case, leave with him.
I might have had like my hand on his back, standing side by side to him, but not like, you know, like before.
Masha raises her voice again. Let this be known to all of the room and all of the city, Shula. Our stance on this kind of politicking is still firm, and will still be firm when Bridenstine arrives with his Nazified East Berlin. We will not tolerate it. That is all. Then she takes a drink from a glass of Vitae that's mostly coagulated, but she does it for effect, and it seems to work.
What's Rosa's what's going on with her outlook when she mentioned Bridenstine?
Rosa, for probably the first time all evening, has actually furrowed her brow and is frowning at this point, looking particularly unhappy with that statement. Shula is, well, to an extent, looking a bit like a journalist, except without a pen and paper. If she had one, she would be scribbling down all of this for quotes for publication in some tabloid rag. But you know that she's taking all of this in.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, you go for it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I'm gonna stay until I at least see like half of the people there either leave or go for the vessels or whatnot in the next room.
And you still need to speak to Marsha as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Carl, are you doing likewise?
I think Carl's probably going to try to get out of here. This is all too heavy for him. These social things tend to end up with him getting beat up. So he's going to try to get out and make his way to the church. So he'll probably go first to Dieter and to Masha to sort of say goodbye. He'll probably say goodbye to Rosa because he liked her, and to Anna because she'll probably want to know where he is. Unless anything's particularly interesting happens when he says, sorry, takes his leave from Dieter or the other two.
No, the first parties to leave the party. Gunter actually hangs around for a little while longer, but no one speaks to him, and he peels off eventually, leading Dieter to announce, what am I supposed to do with all of this shit, gesturing at the art in the ballroom, to which there's much mirth. Paula, still greatly embarrassed, is the first person to leave. Hans goes upstairs to set up the projector, and act as projectionist for anyone who wants to stick around to watch the film. It would appear that Ursula is keen to do so, and Schuyler seems quite happy to do so as well. Just after Paula leaves, Schuyler announces to everyone the political scene vis-à-vis Hungary and Austria, and the East Germans escaping from Hungary and into Austria now that the border has become demilitarized. To which there is a bit of hubbub, but Schuyler doesn't emphasize the importance of this like she did in private to Karl, because not all kindred are so up on world affairs. So, yeah, eventually, Masha looks like she's about to make ready to leave with Rosa, who stayed pretty quiet up until this point. So, I will allow, if, Anna, presumably you're going to want to go to the sheriff as soon as Masha's made the introductions, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Karl, you're going straight to the church, so the two of you are going.
Well, he's going to go shopping first to get food things because he's basically going to calculate like what he can suit, things he can make a lot of in bulk, and he's going to go and get them and sort of take them to the church. So yeah, sort of with a detour.
Okay, by this point, by the way, it's about 1 a.m. Given that this was all taking place, God, it's difficult to remember sometimes which evening of the week all of this was. This is still a Sunday, well, it's now a very early Monday morning. I don't think you'd be able to pick up any food this late at night.
Okay, well,
1989, no 24 hours.
I'm going to go to the church anyway to discuss the matter further.
Okay, well, in that case, I will deal with the scene with Masha and Anna, and then I will cut back to Karl and the church, if that's good.
Suits me.
Yeah, sure.
Masha has calmed down. She's adjusted her clothes so she doesn't look dishevelled or irate anymore or about to rip someone's chest open. Rosa and I were just leaving, Anna. That was a very good speech that you performed. We both appreciated it.
Thank you, darling. I of course empathize. I understand your position, and it's very much the same with me. It's just that a notch above that in priorities to me is the most important thing to me, which is family. And that is the almost the only reason I really love coming to these gatherings, even though they tend to go to the dramatic route. Of course, with our family, our clan, it's almost a given. But
well, next week, your brother Hans intends to host an event, a much more minimalistic one in his studio. I can't imagine that having the same shock value. Well, I would hope not in the same way.
No, I feel Gunter has. I feel he has many issues left not dealt with in his cranium. These I feel, being the one who investigates the whole party boy situation, I can't help but see some parallels here. The certain type of frustrated, confused, childlike attention-seeking, shock value things there. This whole exhibit that he portrayed, to me, all it screamed was please listen to me and please hug me type of things.
Isn't it not just completely desperate and pathetic?
It is, but still his family. We need to look out for each other.
Yes, and I promise I will not get too animated as I say this, but I was not lying. My family were killed. I was generations removed by that point, but I had always looked after my family. Even after becoming kindred, every one of them. I could not save a single one of them. Was snatched up by that machine and murdered. And it's... well... I knew that bringing someone like Lechtenbrink to the city was a risk. I invited him here. I did not expect this, which was perhaps my mistake. Still. You mentioned earlier about wanting to speak to von Humboldt, did you not?
Yes. Yes, it's... I'm also becoming ever more increasingly concerned about my sire, about Heinrich, in going into hiding, and he did not inform me of where he's going.
Rosa and I will stop by his theatre on the way back from here. It is not too much of a diversion, just to put your mind at rest.
Good. And I thank you for that. But yes, the situation is such that I do need to put business ahead of family concerns for a short period and go and meet the illustrious sheriff. So, yes,
I will use Peter's phone. I will contact Oscar, and I will let him know that you are going to see him tonight. He will not deny me.
Thank you, Masha.
Have a good evening, Anna. Leave it an hour before you head towards his. Let him have enough time to get ready.
I will. I'll go out from after that. Do I see Carl anywhere?
If Carl left immediately, possibly not. I will allow you to retcon that you managed to exchange a word with him in case you want to meet up somewhere.
No, mainly just that I know where he's going and where he is. Like, I'm not sure if I know about his plans to go to the church.
I don't think you did, and Carl doesn't have his own method of transportation, so he would have to take one of your ghouls' cars or be escorted by one of your ghouls in order to get to the church. You are quite far outside of Berlin here, where you're on the very outskirts in this chateau. So, Carl, how are you intending on reaching the church at 1 AM in the morning?
Yeah, we'll probably call a cab.
Yeah, that's one way of doing it. All right.
Okay, so he's
Yeah,
gone.
he's gonna do. He walks
He's taking
into
a
the
cab and
city.
he's already left. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, Carl has headed off in a cab. As you enter the cab,
Okay. If Carl is has gone out, then I would go out and have my ghouls drive me to the nightclub thing that the party location that got tagged.
yeah.
I'm looking to go there to see if I could spot Megan there this time.
Okay. Carl, as you enter the cab, the driver points out, you've got a very odd odour to you.
Yes, breathe deeply. Carl's just like, oh yes, a strange perfume that women had. He lies, and he sort of sits back and just dismissing the conversation, sort of says, Church of St. John, please.
With a bit more specification, he gets you there, and you exchange the money. He drops you off, and once again, the lights within the church, or candle lights within the church, are up and running. And once again, at this time of night, it doesn't seem to be particularly filled with people, except for vagrants who have once again adopted sleeping positions on the pews.
Well, Carol goes in. Is anything different from the last time I was here?
No. In fact, if there is anything, it's by looking up at the ceiling. You can see the water stain appears to have spread.
Okay, so we'll just make us way in and see if the priest whose name escapes me now is kicking about, or minister, or whatever he is.
Fuchs.
Ah, it's the Reverend Fuchs.
Says here, fucks.
So I've heard.
Yes. You make your way towards the vestry, because he's certainly not in the main body of the church. Do a perception and awareness, please. Not alertness, but awareness.
Awareness? I don't know if I've got that. Hold on. Nope, I don't have that, so... Plus
You do have more specs, don't you?
I've got Auspex 2. Okay, so I'm just rolling perception then.
Yeah, -1.
A 7 and a 9 would be 2 successes. That's 6. Or it's 7.
As you pass over the threshold, you feel very cold, as if something is watching you.
Giovanni! Okay. So now that he has no idea that the Giovanni are behind it all, he makes his way to the vestry. But he'll, very uncharacteristically for a kindred, sort of be rubbing his arms, and possibly even rattle a blood point in there to sort of blush himself up and humanify himself, and also to kind of warm himself to some extent.
Okay. It does take the edge off, but it's still pretty chilly in here. It doesn't seem unnaturally so. You can.
It's gold goes to your very soul, Mr. Schweitz. Yes, that's right. I've been in the presence of wraiths before. Carl, unfortunately, has not been in the presence of wraiths before, so he carries on as if he has no idea what's going on. And yeah, you'll sort of knock on the vestry door.
As the door opens, you are hit with a warm air that's reassuring, comforting even, as Reverend Fuchs, with a light behind him, stands in the doorway. Yes, my child.
Mr. Schweitz. Okay, so Carl will sort of smile, look almost eager to go inside probably, and say, Reverend Fuchs, it's me, Carl. I remember.
Yes, I remember you, Carl. It's been a while. Been a while. Well, 2 nights, I think.
Yes, sorry, I was wanting to talk more about the idea of feeding the. And he sort of is gesturing over his shoulder at the people on the pews.
Come in. Yes, we don't like to talk about feeding in front of them. Makes their stomachs rumble.
Yeah, okay. Carl might actually pause for a moment when he says we don't talk about feeding in front of them, and then sort of like, all right, and sort of walks into the room. Is there anyone else in there?
No, it's just Fuchs.
All right, okay. Is the kitchen equipped with knives?
Yeah. It's got all the cutlery and crockery that you could hope for.
Excellent. So Carol now fairly confident he can have this boy. No, he doesn't break into his finest Southside swagger. He, sort of go inside and sort of motion to a chair and say, "May I have a seat?"
Of course, free to sit. Can I get you something to drink?
No thanks, no thanks. I've just come from a party.
Yes, I think you're dressed very well.
Yes, it was quite a lavish affair. But I didn't want to waste any more time.
Got quite an odour to you, though.
Oh,
Was it one of these parties where people smell something?
I was being fawned upon by a particularly fat, rich old woman, and she.
You shouldn't judge someone for their weight or their wealth, or indeed their gender. I am sure that she was a delight, and.
Oh well, no, I'm not judging. I'm just trying to paint a picture. I mean, she was all of the things I said. It's not really an insult to say that a fat rich woman is a fat rich woman.
Well, my belief is that if she works hard enough to make herself both fat and rich, then she deserves to be both.
Well, she certainly was working hard, and then Carl sort of shudders and stops himself there. Hoping that shudder is probably taken as more of not like that. Oh, what a vulgar display of drinking her blood, and more as, oh my god, I just got hit on by a really old fat woman. Yes, the kitchen.
Oh yeah, it's my kitchen.
No. If you'd like me to come in and maybe prepare something for the homeless people. But I'm not judging either.
Of course, they're always in need of more food. They can't necessarily get it themselves, you see.
No, well, do you have anything for, or could I give you a list of things to get in for making like things that could keep, like soups?
I'm completely bereft of funds beyond what needs to go into the church itself. Any food would have to be procured by charitable types such as yourself, pastors, as you say. Dry foods that would keep and go a long way.
I'll see what I can come up with.
Bags of rice are always welcome.
Yes, I'll come up with something. Yeah. So how have things been? Like, it seems quite busy out there still.
Oh, fine. Each sermon is a new experience, getting to meet new faces all the time. In fact, for a run-down old church like this one, you'd be surprised how many people attend, at least for the first one. I think some of what I say puts some of them off. It isn't what they expect from a Christian church. But in times of uncertainty, such as exist right now, many gravitate towards faith for a taster, as it were, to see whether it's for them. For some it isn't, and I do not begrudge them that. For others it is, and they stay for as long as they need it, and that's what I can ask. If I can provide comfort to someone for even a small amount of time, then, well, I'm doing the Lord's work.
Yes, I had to comfort someone recently. It's, in a way, it's quite cathartic, I suppose. But it was a shame. One of my friends works at the university as, I think it was professor of nutrition or something like that. And he told me that there was a student there who was killed recently. He was quite cut up by the whole thing. I don't know if he knew him very well, but it did seem to hit him quite hard.
That's a great tragedy when someone loses their life so young.
When Carol mentions that, he's going to kind of keep an eye on him and see how he reacts to that.
He doesn't appear particularly phased. He's not, but at the same time, he's not appalled. He's not shocked. I'm quite happy for you, with your heightened senses, to pick up on the fact that there's no quickening of his breath or indeed pulse. He is just very matter of fact.
Sort of like keeping that active and sort of perception, empathy in him to some extent. I would think he's going to sort of like up the ante slightly. Yes, it was a strangely named. I think maybe a foreign student, Johnny Wist or something like that. And when he says the name, he sort of again. 6 dice of justice. -2 for heightened senses because I've got level 2 aspects, I think.
Yeah.
So, and I'll take that one away. 4 successes.
Well, in that case, you definitely pick up on some tells that Reverend Fuchs possesses. He can't keep eye contact with you as he follows up and says, Johnny West, that is an unusual name. He, yes, definitely not from around here. No.
Apparently he was hit by a car. Terrible.
Tragic. Truly terrible.
Well, I suppose we all come to an end somehow, don't we?
But it's so sad for it to happen so soon.
Did he sound as angry as you did when he said that?
He says it in the same way I just said it.
Well, yes. And Carol will pick up on that and sort of let him know he's picked up on that. Yeah, I suppose it
well, I mean, he was so young.
Yes, but yeah, it's quite a tragic thing, and such a waste.
Yes, I suppose. Yes, definitely.
My friend told me he was probably out in a night in the town. You know how these young people can be.
Tragic.
Being
It was in Hamburg.
Being one myself, you know. Who knows the circumstances? Still a terrible thing. He was very cut up by it.
So you said, although I can't say I like that phrase in this context.
I mentioned that I was coming here to him. He said that it's quite a popular place with the student body. Do you get a lot of students in here? Maybe I could enlist their aid in this sort of charitable work.
Well, from time to time, students come here, but not that often. We've had a few in recent months.
Oh, he's quite a shall we say, save the planet type guy. He probably is more affiliated with those type of people who would be in for such work. So it may be that it's simply the people he speaks to are more inclined to come to that.
Yeah, those on minimum who earn barely anything or are otherwise homeless are my main congregation. Being a student at the university tends to imply a certain measure of wealth that typically doesn't accompany a member of this congregation.
So you don't use them for charitable work or anything? You don't engage them at all? Maybe you should. Maybe that's somewhere you could reach out.
Yes, it's a possibility, although dragging them into a place like this when the ceiling's falling down, this is more a last resort for a lot of people, but I'm thankful that it offers comfort to those who arrive.
Yeah, but maybe we could get them to channel some sort of fund together and fix the place up a bit alongside a little bit of publicity doing the sort of food drive that we're doing.
Well, I'd have to check, but that's not an offensive idea.
Check. Are you? Any sort of pauses at that? Are you affiliated to some?
Oh, with God, of course, Carl. I have to pray on it, to think on it.
Carl thinks he's lying, and he slipped up there. So he sort of nods his head. Okay, well, I'll put the word out about maybe we could turn it into some kind of food drive, get people to hand things in.
Yes, that's a very good idea.
And I could then put them together for them. I'm quite handy, with a. Well,
excellent. Well, you put your mind to that, and I will put my mind to outreach and come back on another evening, and we'll be able to chat further.
So I'm getting the impression I'm getting chucked out here. Carol sort of like taking that, sort of nods his head, and he stands up and he walks to the door, and as an afterthought, which is not an afterthought, it's very calculated, he sort of stops and turns around and goes, "Oh, Reverend, just for my friend, please do say a prayer for Mr. West, as you say, it's such a terrible tragedy. Do keep him in your thoughts."
I
mean,
will.
I don't know how much
and pray for mercy.
Yeah, I don't know how much I really believe, to be honest with you, but someone that young, anything we can do for them would be good. It'd be terrible. Hopefully, the Almighty Father could stop something like this from happening again.
Well, that's a nice thought, isn't it?
I'm sorry to keep you. I'll make my way out. And Carl sort of like leaves, thinking that he's hopefully planted some doubt in this guy's mind. But he'll also have a quick look around. Is there anyone watching him? Because he's now looking into the sort of church from the vestry.
It's pretty dark in here. If you're taking the time to look, you're only walking slowly. I'm not going to make you make a roll for it. It would appear one of the tramps is more sat up than laying down, and seems to be watching you as you leave.
Do I think I could aura read him without being spotted?
The door of the vestry closes, so yeah, the Reverend isn't watching you anymore.
Yeah, so I'll try to subtly. I'll look straight at the guy. Does he keep looking at me?
Yeah.
All right, okay. So I'll smile and aura read him, which I think is perception alertness. I may be wrong. Aura perception. Good thing about having the book, you can actually search through it. Come on, I was there a second ago. There we go. Perception, empathy, difficulty 8, and I will roll that now. That's not a bad roll. 2 successes. So that's what, 2 colours, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a chart. I can distinguish the main colour, and probably tell if it's good. Or a ghoul or such.
Well, I might just tell you the emotions, because I always found that colour chart thing a bit silly.
Yeah. We are of one mind.
Yeah. Oh no. All right. Well, we'll play the game. It would appear his main colour is orange as he stares at you.
Orange, you say? Now I need to look and see what that is. Where am I?
Orange with a tinge of dark green.
Oh god. Dark green, envious. Orange, he's afraid and envious. So he could be wanting to be a vampire, or he could just be going, that guy looks quite scary and is probably making more money than me and probably has a house. So that could do the job. But he's mortal, I take it. These are bright colours. Okay, so Carol will just carry on walking, unless I pick up on any other dodgy auras around the room.
There's no other dodgy auras around the room. Everyone else seems to be asleep.
One thing I will notice, just in closing, as I pass him, heading towards the actual exit, so I'm now sort of not in front of him. Does he actually turn his head and watch me all the way out the door?
Yeah, he's fixedly staring at you.
Okay, I'll just keep going and leave.
Something you do notice, whether... Actually, I'm going to make you do one more perception plus alertness.
Alertness.
The Difficulty on this is an 8 or above.
Perception and alertness. That's a good dice pool for me. 7. And oh my word,
Mm,
there are so many. Did you say 8? Sorry.
8.
That's 4 successes. Do I have a specialty in perception? No, I don't. So I should probably get one of them.
Yeah.
And yeah, 4 successes.
So, the thing that you pick up, and it was something that you noticed but just didn't click with you the last time you were here, the vagrants are spread around the church. Yeah, and they've spread some of their stuff around the church as well, like carrier bags, and one of them has a suitcase and things. And they've, liberally taken over sections of pews and the pews in front of them. The one area of the church that sees no sign of habitation, except for when Anna was there with Fritz, is the back row, essentially, which is also the darkest part of the church. The light just doesn't seem to reach it. And none of the vagrants are sat on the pews nearest the front wall, essentially.
Is there a light shining on it?
No, it's only candlelight in here anyway.
So it's not like an unnatural shadow. I'm not about to get grabbed by tentacles.
Well, you don't think so.
Yeah, okay. I'll
But even you, as a vampire, you feel it's creepy.
having noticed this, I'll probably have a closer look at it. I'll sort of act as though, like, I don't know, maybe even drop something like a coin or something, and go over and sort of like crouch down and like look around in the back row and like what's beneath the pews and such.
The pews seem to be...
tie my shoelace kind of thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. The pews are, well, immaculate. They don't show the signs of wear and tear of people having slept on them. The cushions for kneeling are likewise in good state beneath these pews, but it's darker than you would think it to be. I can
still see. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not pitch black or anything.
So, is there anything there, or is it just pristine?
It just seems to be pristine, which is unusual given the state of decay in the rest of this church.
Can I use aura perception?
No one ever sits here.
Can I use aura perception on that area?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's perception empathy difficulty 8 again. Boom. And this time I fail. I see nothing.
In that case, you see nothing, but you feel the air rush just very slightly. There's a change in air as this breeze rushes into your face, and then suddenly you're bowled over off of your heels from where you were squatting to look down. You're just knocked to the floor, and
party boy! Oh, your obfuscate powers are not good enough.
Don't wake up with spray paint on your face.
Yeah. So yeah, Carol is decked, and sort of like looks around. Presumably, has this drawn the attention, or are the vagrants not bothering their arse? Particularly, how does that guy that was glaring at me react to that?
You see him hurriedly wrap his coat around himself and then huddle into the pew. Pretty much try and fold himself into the corner.
Okay, I'm going to make one last attempt on a perception. I'm going to do it in the direction of the vestry door. Just as a guess, which it might reveal bugger all again. So, oh my word.
Good God.
With more successes than God. Yeah, so I could probably see everyone in the room at this point with aura perception.
Yeah, you don't actually see anyone enter the vestry. You do definitely see the aura of a vampire flickering in and out of, existence, it would appear. So a white pale shade, I believe it's supposed to be.
Yes.
Running down the aisle, the central aisle, and ducking into one of the alcoves.
Okay, I'm probably not the best at taking on. So I take it the thing stayed invisible the entire time while it was moving. Right. Okay. Carol just sort of like gets to his feet, brushes himself off, looks around as though he's incredibly confused by all of this, and then makes his way out into the street. And he's not going to go home. He's going to try to get a cab to take him to Anna's.
Okay. What's going on? You are you head back to your club, and I would like for you to roll on your charisma. Just your charisma, please. Difficulties are low. It's 4s and above. Actually, do charisma plus perception, not perception, presence. Sorry, because I'd like to know how much of an impact you had on Megan to make her return.
Okay.
Given you at the moment, difficulty 4 and above.
What is this? I got 2 1s and only 1 7, and the rest are just 4 4 3 3. So
you need mad ice, Eunice. That's what you need.
yeah, 1 botch.
Dear God.
It's not a botch because you got a success.
Yeah,
But
the difficulty was a 4.
There's 1 1 7 3 3 4 4.
But 7 not a success.
Yeah, 7.
Yeah, but I got 2 1s.
Yeah, but it's still a failure.
Because your difficulty was 4 and above in this case.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
in that
somehow you succeed by 1.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Megan is just leaving as you arrive.
Okay, in that case, I'll just. Who's driving me?
Let me see. Who had driven you there?
I think it was Werner, was it not?
What's that?
Yeah, I think Werner was driving because, yeah, we were talking about the interrogation thing.
Yeah, Werner and Bruno.
Scottish people say German names.
Yeah, and Werner did the whole meringue thing.
Yeah, Bruno had the meringue, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, you are still in the BMW with Werner and Bruno.
Okay, I'll tap Werner. If Werner is driving, I'll tap him on the shoulder and say, ease up, I'll drive close to her. And
Of course, little one. He curb crawls.
And I'll of course press down the window when we're driving next to Megan, and I'll just look out the window and say, "Hey."
And she says, I wondered if you'd be back, at which point she tosses back her hair.
Oh, of course, now that I see you here.
I suppose you're going to ask me to get in the car.
Suppose I am.
Werner. Bruno steps out of the slowly moving car and opens the rear door as it's rolling along.
What a maneuver!
Walks along with it, gesturing for her to slide into the back seat beside you. And so she does, Bruno climbing back into the front as Werner speeds the car up again, and you start going through Berlin. Not at breakneck pace, admittedly. That would be a bit odd.
Yes, I plan on taking her to my apartment to basically kill time before I would go to see the sheriff.
Well, I did wonder what you were about to follow up that word with.
No. I just laid it down there, but of course, while on the back seat, I'll just I'm looking at her with this wide smile on my face, this I've been coming here ever since we first met to see if I spot you here, but
it's not been open. I was hanging around outside hoping that it would be and that you would show up. Although I'd see that funny little Fritz guy who seemed to know who you were. But I've not seen either of you.
Ah, yes. Oh, well. I didn't know he closed it down, but it's unfortunate. But then again, that's then, this is now. And right now we're together in here.
Well, I'm all dressed up to go out. Are we going anywhere?
Well, you could say so, but I feel like this place is not the sort that I'm looking for tonight. What I'm looking for tonight is something much more relaxed and private. I look at her with this, this intent, to be easily readable on my face.
She looked at you. She has the same look about her. She remembers the last time. Then she looks to the two gentlemen in the front of the car. Who are they?
Oh, they just work for me. You don't mind. You don't have to mind them. They drive me.
They're keeping their eyes fixed straight ahead. They're not craning around to see what's going on. They are respecting your privacy.
I'll pat Werner on the shoulder in this kind of a petting manner, and I'll just say, "They drive me," and I'll then turn to the girl again. 'Cause I don't mean to diss my boys, but
Your boys, that one
right.
must be at least 20 years older than you.
Oh well, it's the charm that gets me when choosing a good driver. Sometimes I have to take long business trips, and a drive with a with someone who's tragically born without a personality is a chore unto itself.
Dull people are very hard work, but I find you very interesting.
I find you very interesting.
So you are driven to your apartment, where
I'll make sure that none of my boys are there.
yeah. So you send Bruno can go up first to clear it out and make sure there's no one lingering.
Yeah, and afterwards, I don't mean to take too much time with this, so it's mostly the same sort of thing I've been doing with her. I'll most like I think I'll rather like just summarize what I intend to do with her in the sense that uh, I'll be taking her up to the apartment, listen and play some soft music from my stereo there, and have a couple of drinks, or hold a drink while she drinks, and put the drink down and not actually drink it, and that sort of thing, and just this kind of fake. I don't really expose anything personal, anything about myself to her really. I'm just it's more of just she's a piece of meat type of thing. I don't care for her really. So it's just a kind of the way it's with all my vessels. How I what I said with Greta in the last session was all bullshit as well. Uh, so yeah, I'll do the very similar seduction bit that I did with her in the club the first time we met. and I'll aim to end it up with us in my bed and me drinking her V-tie.
Well, she is as receptive as she was the first time. Seems to very much enjoy the evening's entertainment that you put on for her. And you can take a maximum of 2 blood points from her again, making her feel heady without passing out.
I think I'll, with my current blood pool situation, I think I'll take 3 from her, so that she'll maybe be, you know, hangover-ish or something like that, but nothing where you need to, you know, go for a blood transfusion or anything like that.
No. Well, she does slip into... Well, she faints, essentially. Saying slipping into unconsciousness sounds so severe, but she does swiftly fall to sleep, which is nicely timed with a phone call. The phone out in your living area starts ringing, just as she passes out.
I'll raise my head after I've licked the wound shut. I'll walk to the phone while, you know, wiping my mouth with a napkin, and go answer the phone. Hello?
Anna, it's Masha.
Oh, Masha, darling, what is it?
Well, I've just been on the phone to Oscar. We were speaking for quite a duration, but he is free to see you. We're only just leaving Dieter's now. We got held up, so we will stop by your sires as we said we would, Rosa and I. And again, thank you very much for your unification speech. It was very much appreciated, and unification is exactly what we need right now. I won't forget it. I'm sure.
I forget what you said too.
Here is von Humboldt's. The address you can reach von Humboldt at. He did ask that you wait an hour, which is going to only leave you around 3 hours before the dawn. No doubt he wants a brief meeting.
Very well. Well, I'll go and see him in an hour then. Thank you again, Masha.
Thank you, Anna, and well, sleep well this coming day. I feel that with the news of Hungary and Austria, things are going to be changing around here quite soon.
Well, bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Oh, an hour. Well...
It's around that time that Carl arrives. There we go. Because he was heading for your apartment, and I like it when you're actually working together.
It's me! Ha!
Oh, yeah. Smashes through the front door. Big jump.
Fights by nature.
Hooray! Played.
Carl's Fight's played by Rick Mail comes in.
Hey!
Ha!
Snap into it!
with 2 ladies on his arm, tossing a bomb over his own head, blowing up the garage. No, he'll come in. Or you'll probably you'll ring your buzzer rather than come in.
I'll see that everything is like I don't have any blood stains or anything like that on me. I'll close the.
You're practiced in this art. You know how to do it without leaving any stains.
Yeah, and I'll make sure to close my bedroom door so that Megan can sleep it off there, and I'll go answer the door.
Unlike Carl, who probably looks like he's a terminally wounded slug after feeding tonight. No, he'll wait till you answer. Oh, Anna, hello. I've just come from the church where there was some interesting. Let me come in, please.
Fine. Let's go into the back. I'll close the door behind him and lead him to let's say the kitchen, so that in no way would Megan be in hearing distance if she would, suddenly wake up or something like that.
Carol's feeling really anxious now because he was quite presumptuous just inviting himself in. And is apologising for everything and asking permission to do things like step on the carpet, take a seat. Yeah.
Carl, please, calm your nerves. It's clearly something has disrupt you.
He seems more excited than scared, actually, strangely. But if anything, he seems sort of scared that he's upset you by inviting himself into your house. But sort of composes himself. At the church, there was remember, you told me when you were sitting at the back with Fritz, there was a face, a thing, when it scared him and he ran away. And I got a feeling of when I was there of cold, of like the temperature was suddenly lowered, yeah. And when I was leaving, I looked in the back row with my suggestion at his eyes. So of course I looked with his eyes, but you might get what he's trying to say. And there was someone there. There was and he leans close as if it's a big secret between the two of you. There was a vampire there. He was invisible.
Yes. As we originally thought. Well,
but more than that, I pushed the Reverend with Johnny West and made some elaborate story about my friend at the university knew him, and he seemed quite annoyed that he was dead, and talked about it was too soon. But the way he said it was like as if he was supposed to do something and now he has to get someone else to do it instead. And yeah, the homeless people. One of them was very interested in me. Seemed scared. Seemed almost envious. And when the invisible vampire ran past him, he huddled close together. He seemed afraid. He seemed terrified. I think they might know to some extent, or there might be something going on there. I don't know what it is. Some sort of cult or vampire worshipping thing. But I was talking to Schuler earlier, and she was talking about a family, a unified third force, someone who wants to see both princes destroy each other and move in their place, and this could be hiding where we can't see them because they're invisible.
I'll put my hand on his shoulder and his chest there. I'll be like, calm yourself, Carl.
Yeah, right now Carl looks like Stan if Stan's used chips. His arms are going wildly and he's gesturing really flamboyantly. But when you put your hand on him, he sort of collects himself. And, oh, sorry.
This is all very good. This is all very useful confirmation of things we were suspecting earlier.
I think I might keep trying to insinuate myself in there, but it might not be a good idea to go back there before someone else has had a look around, someone who might be able to do something about invisible people. I mean, I could see him, but I don't know if I could fight something like that. Or
did it look like the vampire saw you seeing him?
Oh, it knew. It must have known. It ran away. It ran past me. It knocked me over. It knew that I was looking at it. And Carol probably flashing his auspex, and you can see his eyes changing colour to this sort of light blue. And they can see that, but I couldn't see, or he didn't think I could see him, but I could see him, and he ran away. And yeah, so they can be invisible. Can we be invisible? Like, who can be invisible? Is that what kind of vampires? Because that must narrow it down. We can't all be invisible. I can't go invisible. So It must be.
There's only a handful of vampires who can turn invisible, and there's only a handful of vampires who would be easily considered a third party who would like to see both princes destroy each other, and there is only a handful of vampires who use manipulation and religious and political rhetoric to manipulate congregations in a cult-like fashion.
I knew it, it's Giovanni! Wait a minute! As Carol flicks through his copy of V20, wait a minute! That's not them.
I'm not going to outright say to the sheriff that to look after look after Reinhard Schweizig, but I certainly would myself.
Are you going? Have you seen the sheriff? Maybe he could see invisible people.
I only just now got the call that the sheriff has agreed to see me in an hour or so.
Oh, but we've got to see him because if he can catch it, then maybe it'll tell us what's going on and who this party boy is and why he's doing what he's doing.
It really appears at this point that party boy is not a major concern. There is no one who's been threatened in a large way by party boy's actions. All these tags, that's all he's been doing, scratching cars and spray painting and sabotaging sculptures and things of that nature, and taking photos.
Carol seems very excited now as his political conspiracy theorist mind kicks into overdrive. Oh, you think he's a false flag? You think he's a fall guy? You think he's a distraction from what's really going on?
Could be. I mean, did you pay any attention when we were at the Elysium? Did you see how Reinhard Schweizig looked at the counselor Joanna Richter, the Tremere? Did you see how he acted in her company?
Yes, and I could hear he was calling out the Tremere to the prince in front of everyone. I could hear him. So people who have better hearing than me could obviously hear him, or invisible people that were there that I couldn't even see.
Can't be sure, but I'm starting to think like you suggested that the party boy is not our main concern.
There's the seminal quote of the night right there.
But we still have Zünstorf, the club, to go after where Party Boy has been doing all his recruiting of these people who run with him. I think that location still is something that we certainly need to check out.
Sure, sheriff first though, right?
Oh, of course. Because
if the Invisible Man's a vampire, then he has to sleep during the day as well. So we have to let him know about it now. Well, he's still there because he could go away, he could hide.
Yes, you are right. Why don't we go as soon as possible? Why don't we go?
Your bedroom door opened onto the living room, and Megan is stood there in a state of some disarray. Not half unclothed or anything, but clothes adjusted, as if she's just been sleeping in an awkward position and she's just woken up.
Is she in any sort of state of undress at all?
No, because I don't get the impression that there was any sort of full-blown sex going on or anything. It was all sort of foreplay leading up to a feeding.
Carol sort of stands up, pushes his chair back, and goes, "Oh, I'm sorry."
I'll immediately just put my hand to Carl, just like don't say anything type of thing, and I'll just turn to Megan and I'll be like,
"Do you have any aspirin?"
No, I'll have to see in the bathroom, but I'm sorry if I woke you up. This was about the club being closed. It was something I wanted to take care of as soon as
Oh,
possible.
is he another one of your boys?
No, he's someone who works for me in the nightclub. So after you told me about it being closed, so at all those times, I wanted to get to the bottom of this, and I'm sorry if our arguing woke you up.
No, 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 it's okay. If the bathroom's through there, I'll go and find the aspirin myself. That's fine.
Okay.
She passes through, gives Carl a brief wave, finds that, well, enters the bathroom. You hear her rummaging around the medicine cabinet as the two of you stay quiet.
I'll turn to Carl and like jerk my head to like go on ahead. I'll catch up.
Carl sort of looks confused for a moment, and then nods his head and taps his nose, and he walks out and goes to the garage, presumably to wait for everyone else to come down.
Before I go down, as soon as Carl has left the apartment, I'll go to the bathroom where Megan is.
Oh, Anna. Yes, I found the aspirin.
Oh, that's good. If you wish to stay here till morning, I just wanted you to know it's completely fine with me. If you wish to stay.
You're so much like my mother. No, that's all right. I'll make my own way home. But thank you.
I will see you again, won't I?
I hope so. I'll stop by the club whenever I'm in town. I'll be working well at the university. I'm in my final year, but yeah, whenever I get an evening to myself, I'll be well wanting to spend it with you. At which point she gives you a rather, what would the word be? Opportunistic kiss on the cheek.
Okay. I'll return the affection and uh, I'll just turn to her and smile and say, "Can't wait," and I'll see her leave basically.
Okay. Now I will ask both of you. We have the option of doing the scene with Oscar von Humboldt now, or John. Are you in need of having to retire at this moment?
No, I'm alright at the moment, so as long as it's not another like 40 minutes, that'll be okay.
Yeah, well, we will be wrapped up within the next 20 minutes.
Okay, that should be
fine. Which is fine, because Oscar von Humboldt only wants a brief meeting. He's a no-nonsense kind of a brewer. So I will skip the travelling section, and actually...
We fast travel.
Yeah, you fast travel to a vacant office building, which is the address you were given by Masha.
Yeah.
You're a little earlier than you anticipated, but not by that much, by about 5 minutes. The doors to the office building open, and a man walks out, very well dressed, waistcoat, suit jacket. For this time of night, and given that it's a Sunday night, he's dressed ridiculously well. Anna, I'd like you to do a perception and alertness. Those are our rolls of the day.
We'll see if I see the hatchet flying in.
You're not letting me roll it because I'll get it with 9 tens.
Yeah, screw you.
6, 7, 2, so 2 successes.
You recognise him as Salvatore de Reig, the Ventru envoy from East Berlin.
Ah.
I
I
recognise him as
see.
a guy in a suit.
Backroom dealings going on. So yeah, I'll once I see him, I'll give him a kind nod, and I'll just say,
If you're drawing his attention by giving him a nod, there's a very brief moment of surprise, having not expected to see anyone else, and then he smiles. Miss Van Hagen,
good
very
evening.
pleased to see you, and we don't get to see each other often at all. And this must be your friend that I've been hearing about, Karl Schweitz?
Yes, my sheriff, sir.
No, I'm not the sheriff, boy. I'm ambassador on behalf of Prince Bridenstine.
Oh,
Salvatore Drake,
okay.
child of Gustav, child of Ilse, child of Adartha.
Right. These names mean absolutely nothing to Carol, who looks more confused, but might be taken as being impressed. Oh, I'm pleased to meet you. Yeah, sounds wonderful. And he just lets Tara do the talk and now fades away into the background with his own method of obfuscation.
I assume you're here to see the sheriff rather than trying to ambush me on my way to my lodgings.
Of course, naturally.
Good,
How are things back in the east?
Oh, they're fine. Did you hear the news about the East Germans crossing over into Austria?
Oh yes, I've heard some murmurs about that.
Yes, exciting times. I'm just trying to ease the transition period. For my first port of call was to speak with Oscar, of course. I'll be doing the rounds, speaking to the Primogen, generally making sure everything's in order. Because when the wall falls, as it will, quite soon, no doubt, we need to ensure there's as little bloodshed as possible.
Of course.
And you know that I've always attempted to ease relations between the East and West.
Yes, there's all too much drama in the air, as it were.
I have to say I'm very excited, but I won't keep you from your meeting. Hopefully we'll get to see each other again soon. I'll be speaking to Marsha, of course, but I'm sure we'll get to speak to each other once more, at least before the wall comes down. I hope so.
I should certainly hope so too.
Well, have a nice night, what's left of it. And you, Carl. He crosses the road and climbs into his own car.
Okay.
Carl looks quite embarrassed because he obviously mistook him for the sheriff. Sort of looks down and says, "Sorry," to Aaron. He looks almost afraid to embarrass other Toreador after his first night on the town.
Oh, he doesn't need to feel that way after the stuff Bruno pulled. He's not he's not the clan sore spot at the moment. But
Gunter, poor Bruno. Bruno doesn't.
All Bruno did was munch on a meringue. Poor Bruno. It was a good meringue.
You enter the office building.
Yeah, sure. I'll just turn to Carl and I'll say that yes, he was Salvatore de Rage, a Ventru from East, and he often works as a mediator and a diplomat of sorts between our two parties.
Carol leans in conspiratorially. Can he go invisible?
He was inside a car. I cannot see that well.
Oh, sorry.
But then again, I've never heard of a Ventru who can turn invincible.
Obviously, you've never been to London. Okay. So Carlo just sort of just nod now, and he'll shut his mouth, afraid that he'll say something stupid.
You enter the office building, which is largely decked out with plastic sheets. Clearly, it's still being refurbished. There's one room on the ground floor as you enter the main lobby in which there are lights on. So there's a clear trail that you're supposed to follow.
Okay. Well, I'll just go.
Von Humboldt has clearly set this up in an almost ridiculous way, because as you are walking into the room, he stood there, broad-shouldered, grey suit, his back to you, his hands clasped behind him, and seems to be staring out of the window out into the city, admittedly at the ground floor level, so he's not getting to see much of it. But he starts talking to you with his back to you. Anna van Hagen and Karl Schweitz.
Mr. von Humboldt, pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Yes, we do not speak often, but perhaps that is a good thing. He starts to slowly turn around. To what do I owe this audience?
Well, our illustrious prince, Ernst Ehrmann, entrusted me with the investigation of this alleged party boy character that's been talked about around the city, and told me to come and exchange notes about all my findings in this little investigation. And I feel like at this point our search has gone to a tipping point where we will have to be sinking into deeper waters, to which may cause trouble for our own safety. So at this point, before we delve any deeper into dangerous territory, I felt that I would exchange notes with you.
So you finally get to the point. That's the thing with you, Toreador. You like to build things up before you get to the point. We're on a very short clock, so yes, let's exchange notes. Party boy, a nuisance, a troublemaker, a pestilence on this city who is intent on disrupting the law and the order. Party boy, when I last encountered him, or encountered trace of him, was at a nightclub, a discotheque, at which I was feeding it. I think it was a coincidence that I was there at the same time as him, but I happened to hear that there was a song being played that denounced the Camarilla and various of our traditions in a somewhat satirical way. That was not beyond me. I reacted, and one of the people in the discotheque fled. Since that time, my investigations into Party Boy have been somewhat sidelined by other important issues regarding East Berlin, but I am aware that he has kept up his attacks on the Toreador.
Yes, I assume you've been fully briefed on what took place in the Elysium.
Yes, of course. I'm also aware of this being the second attack on Heinrich George, your sire. He is being quite the object of embarrassment for this city. It would appear that it was a mistake for your clan, or indeed the prince, to allow any well-known actor to be embraced, or at least to still be here in the city in which he was famous.
Oh well, if it wouldn't have been him, it would have been someone else.
Is that your theory? You don't feel like your sire is being targeted? For, as I say, this is the second time where he has been the focal point.
Well, it seems any member of our clan is being the focal point. What it seems like is that I have been able to debunk the theory that this is an Eastern plot. The prince himself was suggesting to Prince Bridenstine being behind Party Boy's attempts, perhaps saying that out of simply frustration, or the climate has simply gone to such lengths that one would actually postulate such plans. But I've been able to find out that Party Boy has hit Toreadors in the east as well as the west. He has hit both of Rosa Rothschild's children. The other one's sculpture exhibit got vandalized by him, and the other one's sports car got vandalized by him. And
who informed you of this nugget of information?
Rosa herself.
So you would believe the word of the East Berlin Primogen, who I do not believe there is currently permission to communicate with in this city. You would believe her word if she could in fact be...
No, I would believe the word of my family member, of a sister, of an aunt, of a mother of sort, of the same blood as I am.
I'll take that into account, of course.
So yes, to go back into the important things, the Party Boy incidents have been occurring in different places, but with the with Hans Mueller's establishment getting the spray paint tag job, as well as my one of my locations getting the same treatment, and both of our sire Heinrich being the object of his attentions, it seems that he is going about this in a very clear pattern of focusing on a specific family line at a time. He has only stopped acting out his little stunts in the East after Hermann, after Bridenstine laid down the gambit of delivering final death to anyone who would be in any dealings with this Party Boy character, and in our side of town, we found out that the nightclub, the BDSM fetish club called Zunstoff, is a place where he actively recruits people. He recruited the people there that he used in the attack on the Elysium, and we tracked one of them down also to the Church of St. John's Rightful Word. Now, we've already investigated the church to a certain extent, as much as we've been able to, and the church itself has been very political. They have been spreading sermons and rhetoric that is very anti-Camarilla, very anti-East, very anti-authoritarian. That prompted me to investigate the church, and it turned out that there have been just earlier tonight, we've made sightings of actual vampires in the church who are obfuscating their way in the building and who are using their disciplines, their talents to manipulate people there. I went there with one of my ghouls who got turned into jelly and into panic through illusions of demonic interventions and the such. There is a strong cult-like atmosphere in the church of creating manipulating an entire congregation to this sort of anti-Camarilla type of rhetoric. All the while, there is a strong atmosphere of wanting to see both sides of the city destroy one another and completely disrupt and dismantle the Camarilla system of governance in this city. But since we do not know exactly what we're dealing with in terms of the supernatural in the church, it is something that I felt vital to inform yourself of, because of the muscle you can use in investigating that place, because I believe it is a nest of treacherous anarchs working in our midst. I can't help but remember in the Elysium the way certain Mr. Schweitzig behaved in front of the entire congregation of us as he was speaking to our illustrious counselor Joanna Richter in front of Princess Eyes with ego and spitefulness and everything in between. I can't help but think that there is a very strong corrosive element inside West Berlin that seeks to see the two sides rip each other apart, only to dismantle the whole system. Now, with what we've been able to uncover about the party boy character himself, we've come to the conclusion, though not completely grounded in fact because of our inability to be efficient in the church itself, we have deducted that the party boy himself poses no real political or violent threat to any of us. He serves a purpose much more similar to gain our attention and for something to for us to cover our eyes with scales being put on in front of them, so that this real undercover element that seeks to disrupt and destroy and dismantle can operate to its full effect within our ranks. So we are about to infiltrate the club Zunstaff and see what is going on there, how the party boy recruitment process is occurring, and hoping that at the same time the Church of St. John's Rightful Word could be investigated by someone with the muscle like you can throw at your investigations. So at this point, it is about simply acting on these assumptions and going to the club and the church hard. But since we do not know exactly what we're stepping into inside there, it felt like the right time to come and relay the information so that we don't simply disappear into thin air and no one knows why or where.
Very good deductions, Miss Van Hagen. They sound well thought out, if not a little paranoid. What I would suggest would be along similar lines as to what you suggested. Yes, tomorrow night you go to this club. Need to strike fast and hard. Given that one would imagine you've been discussing this kind of thing with the rest of your family, and we cannot rule out this party boy as a Toreador, as has long been suspected, it is possible that this party boy would move or attempt a different tactic if he felt like he was being cornered. So tomorrow night, you are to go to this club by my order. I will take Ricardo, one of the gangrel of the city, and we will both go to this church and investigate it. We'll start moving things around, and we will find evidence of a vampire if there is evidence to be found. Don't worry about that. It could just be that a simple Nosferatu has made his way into Berlin and decided to hide himself out in the church and has not declared himself to the prince. If that is the case, then the appropriate actions will be taken. But nevertheless, I will take your report seriously, as you can imagine. You, however, the both of you have permission, if you are able to track this party boy to this club and you are able to seize him, you have full permission to execute him. He has broken the traditions in multiple ways, not least breaching the masquerade time and time again. I would much rather such a weed was pulled out by the root before the wall came down, because we do not need more agitators after that point. Do you understand me?
I do, clearly.
Have you ever ended a life before, Miss Varnhagen?
No, I have not.
And you, Mr. Schweitz?
Carl doesn't say anything. He just sort of looks at you like he's still trying to go over being told to execute this guy.
I'll take that as a no. Listen, you will need to acquire something sharp. It does not need to be made of wood, but it does need to be driven through Party Boy's heart. After that, you can just leave him on a rooftop somewhere, or you can set fire to him if you're feeling particularly aggressive. But doing that is more likely to draw attention. Your best bet is to take him somewhere discreet where no one will be able to rescue him. Remain paralyzed and wait for the sun to finish off the job.
There was one thing. The church, the vampire. I saw it, and before I saw it, I felt that it was cold. There was a feeling of cold. It's very important that you remember that, because you might not be able to see it because it was invisible.
I appreciate your advice, Mr. Schweitz, and your eagerness with which you deliver it. Now, is there anything else? I would, of course, take all of this to the prince.
Nothing that spurs your mind at this moment. I do believe that was all.
Well, in that case, I should let it be known that you are calling me off of my regular duties in order to investigate something within the next 24 hours. I will do it, as I have said that I will do it, but please do not let this be a waste of my time. I remember those kinds of things. And with tensions being as heated as they are between the East and the West, we can't afford to take our eye off of the ball for long. You will have one night of my services. If I do not find anything in this church, I will track you down. We will discuss what to do next. If you can find anything for me to do next, I will continue operating in your service, but by the end of the night, if this is not concluded, it is back on the two of you.
Of course. These past few nights have shown such distasteful, disruptive elements in many different communities we hold close to our hearts. It seems disconcerting to think anything but the good of our communities. It's the East is staring straight at us from beyond the wall, and we need to stand firm.
I will also take into account what you just told me about Reinhard Schwesig, that is information that is not particularly new, but it is always good to have additional voices in the choir singing against that Malkavian.
But I will stress, however, that is simply an assumption that I've jumped into as the first thing I was able to postulate over. Please, when you relay this
assumption, Miss Van Hagen, there are many who doubt Reinhard's loyalty to the city. If this visit to the church is particularly profitable, it will give us what we need to oust this lunatic once and for all.
Yes, but I simply wish that when relaying the information to our prince, not to state that there's any fact backing the suspicions of Mr. Schweitzig on any of these accounts.
Do not fret, I will emphasize that on every point.
Good. Then our business here has concluded.
Yes. We will see each other again tomorrow night, no doubt.
I will bid you farewell. And I smile and do a little courtesy, and then look at Carl as I turn around to walk off.
Carl sort of follows suit. We won't curtsy. You might actually almost curtsy, kind of like some sort of like ridiculously crap bow, and then sort of shuffle out of the door after Anna.
As you're bowing, you catch von Humboldt sneering at you, quite derisively. And you leave.
Carl cares. Yeah, he's going to get the hell out of there.
Anything that the two of you wish to discuss before we wrap, or is that the conclusion?
I'll just tell Carl I'll get in contact with my brother, with Hans, about the about the necessary wardrobe we will be needing for tomorrow night's little escapade.
Carl sort of just nods, thinking of all the various outfits he's had to go through the past 3 days. So he will just sort of almost resign himself to going from toast of the town to, well, I don't even know what this is going to be.
Yeah, those outfits will be quite like the one you're wearing to this particular club.
No. And he probably, to be honest, is more concerned with the fact that he's basically just been asked to kill someone, which doesn't sit well with him. So he's kind of like, right, and he just looks like he wants to go home.
I'll look at Carl and I'll say, don't look so worried. If we find Party Boy, I'll let you take him. I'll let you take his head to Helga if you wish.
Oh, and Carl sort of like, yeah, thanks. That's great. Yeah. I'm sorry. I've got to get home. And he sort of just starts wandering away.
Well, bye. I'll go to my car.
So Carl will get a cab and go back to his flat.
Okay, that's going to conclude our session for the day. So thank you very much to the players, thank you very much to the viewers, and see you for the next one.